Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation, your everyday news channel, guys. Please hit that sub, ring that notification bell so you never ever miss out. And it's free, guys, totally free. Anyway, right, Phillipe Clement has just finished speaking to the media. His pre-match press conference ahead of the Hibs game this weekend. The one thing I'm going to say straight up before I get into talking about what Phillipe actually talked about. It is clear, number one, that he has watched this team and he knows exactly what it is we don't do well and exactly what it is we do badly. You can almost, with the press conference, when he talked about playing too safe and playing too many lateral balls and not playing with attacking and not playing forward, not playing bravely and everything, it was almost like he was talking about us basically. And the way he talked around the players, the way he talked about around the training, the future in terms of training and the matches, the way he talked about the fact that we need to put in place a clear structure. Oh my God, revelation. Michael Beale never ever did that. It was absolute quality press conference. The guy is an absolute true professional. He is someone who sounded like he knew exactly what he was talking about, exactly what he needs to do, and exactly how you need to improve this team. Everything he spoke of were things that we need to put in place to move this team forward. You know, for too long now this season, and well, actually every game this season, we have been, you can almost call it, ball goes to Barisic, runs up to halfway. He turns round, he passes it back to Goldson. Goldson passes it sideways to Tav. Tav passes it sideways to Goldson, who passes it sideways to Davis Osuta, who passes it forward to Lundstrom, who turns around and passes it back to Barisic, who runs forward and turns around and passes it back. Again, you can almost call a game like that all the time. It's just backwards, sideways, boring, predictable football. And the way that Clement talked, it's like he's identified that and knows it needs to be changed. It was a revelation, absolute revelation for me, listening to the press conference today. I mean, what did Phillipe actually talk about? I mean, that's kind of an important thing. He said it's been a busy week, which is exactly what he expected, coming into a new job and taking over, and so much to do, I suppose, for him to assess things, to get used to new things, to get used to the players, get used to the training ground, the facilities, etc., etc. He said it was an interesting week, lots to analyse. He says, he says one thing that did come out, he says that everyone is motivated. And I think that's going to happen when a new manager comes in, as people seek to kind of prove themselves to the new manager, to show the new manager that they mean business, to show the new manager they are worthy of a place in the team. What else did he say? He says, there's a lot we can get better at. Wow. I mean, don't we all know that? There is a lot we can get better at. Yes, absolutely. He says, don't expect the perfect game tomorrow. He says, we can learn, we can develop, we can get better. And I think that's right. We're not going to see the full emphasis of a Phillipe Clement team tomorrow. We're not going to see the full effect of Phillipe Clement after only a week. And if you consider that the players returning from international duty only got back Thursday and Friday, which is obviously today, he's had very little time to actually work with the squad. And we'll talk a little bit shortly about Danilo, Cantwell, Jack and Cifuentes and whether they will feature tomorrow. So hang on for that. What else did he say? It says we've come in, we've analysed what's good and we've analysed what needs to improve. He says what we need to do now is prioritise what we work on week by week. So it sounds like he's going to have a clear focus session by session, week by week on what he needs to work on, what he needs to improve, which is what good coaches do, which is what teachers do with their classes, it's what everyone does. It's what all good managers do. They look at their workforce, they assess them, they look at what they need to improve, how they're going to do that. They put a plan in place, and then they kind of go for what's the most important, what's the next most important, and so on, and work from it that way. And Clement seems like he's really got that sorted. He says, he's looking forward to the game tomorrow. He says it won't be our best game. He says it'll be a good period for reflection on how we are going to play. And a good development for him. He says there'll be lots of improvements to make, of course, but he says he needs to obviously help on building the link between the support and the team. Again, talking about that synergy between fans and the team. And I think he's right. We've got to get behind the team now, get behind Phillipe Clement and what he is aiming to do. If you listen to what he says, and I know the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and I know it's what we see on the field on a match day, and we need to give the guy time to put in place his philosophy. And listening to what he's got to say, he certainly seems to have the right ideas, the right philosophy, the right way of targeting things to improve and develop this team even further. He talked about Stefan van der Heyden as well, who is his assistant. He said that he is very loyal. He knows how to work with him and how to work with the squad. And he said that Stefan van der Heyden is very good at developing players, which is certainly something we need to do. You know, there's a lot of young players in this squad now that need to be developed and improved on. And there's players that we signed over the summer that certainly do need a lot of developing and a lot of improving, certainly something that Michael Beale never did. He said that Todd Cantwell and Ryan Jack will be back for the weekend, but will not be able to play a full 90 minutes. On Todd Cantwell, he said that Todd is increasing his workload, but he's not yet ready to play a full 90 minutes. And I think that's just good management. You know, when you bring players back from injury, when you bring players back into the squad, you've got to get them reacclimatized. You know, I once heard a professional footballer say it takes, you know, a good 4 to 6 weeks to get your match fitness and your match sharpness back. And it's not something you can throw a player into a full 90 minutes straight away. And you know, Clement clearly knows that. He knows how to get the best out of his players. So, you know, spot on from Clement with what he said. He said that Lawrence and Matondo are out for definite. So Tim Lawrence, who was, Michael Beale said, going to return after the international break, is not. Matondo, obviously, I think has got another 3 to 4 weeks before he returns. He said Jose Cifuentes will also miss out as well. He is obviously, I think he had some sort of knee injury, which he sustained whilst on international duty. As he was asked about Danilo, he said Danilo is adapting to wearing the mask. He says, but we will need him at this weekend. Now, that was really interesting. You know, with the fact that they have Roof, Dessers and Lammers, the fact that he says we need Danilo and we need him back, I think kind of gives you a bit of a clue what he thinks of Dessers, really, and Lammers and the others, that perhaps, you know, he rates Danilo more highly than those guys. He sees Danilo as having the greatest potential, which I think is right. You know, out of all of them, if there is a player that's going to score us 15, 20, 25 goals this season, it's not Dessers, it's not Lammers, it's going to be Danilo. So it was certainly interesting that he said, though, his exact words were, we need him for the weekend. We need him for the weekend. Very interesting words indeed from Phillipe Clement. He says that he works very closely with the medical staff, and he says he's putting in place improvements that will lead to the players becoming stronger, more physical, and become the best, strongest physical team in the league. There was something else on that he said as well. He says there's a lot of things that we need to improve in training. He said the length of training, the quality of training, and also he says we can work through that to reduce the number of injuries. So it sounds very much like he is putting the blame on the number of injuries Rangers sustained very much on the quality of training they had under Michael Beale. So that's certainly something that Phillipe Clement wants to address going forward. He said that he's putting in place now a clear idea, a clear structure on what we want to do on the ball and when attacking. I mean, I almost fell off my seat when I heard that. I mean, I know it's saying, I know, I get it. Saying it and doing it are two separate things. But if you listen to what this guy is saying, ideas-wise, player-wise, theory of how to play, you know, how to move the ball, how to press, all this, he sounds like a man who actually knows what he is doing and will lead this club forward. It's made me feel very optimistic listening to his words. He said we've only had 2 days with the squad, so he says it's not given us time for a full run over of our total style of football we want to bring into place, which I know is fair enough. Like I said, we're not going to expect a full improvement tomorrow against Hibs. It is only, you know, a week or 2 days with some players to get in place what he needs to do. So for me, you know, time, he'll get there, he'll bring it round, he'll develop it, he'll make it better. And I've got full faith in Phillipe Clement and Stefan van der Heyden to actually develop that and bring that into place. You know, he says the players will have physical targets as well. So it sounds like he's going to set individual fitness targets for players as well, which is superb, absolutely fantastic. You know, and there's certainly some players in this squad who need to improve their fitness, need to improve their speed work, need to improve a lot of things about their game, particularly the old guard, the Tavs, the Goldsons, the Lundstroms of this world. I think that is certainly something he is targeting at them. He says as well, another great thing that he said, it's about being brave, playing forward. And this was the line that got me. And this is the line that got me to think, yeah, he has been watching Rangers games this year. Not playing safe lateral passes. I mean, that's us to a T. That's all we tend to do in games. Too much, particularly Tav, Goldson, Barisic, Lundstrom, for example, the old guard, the serial losers. He says, you know, we need a structure. We need to know what we want to do when we attack. Now, just listening to that and hearing what Phillipe said, it's spot on. I mean, He's got a clear vision. He wants a clear structure. He wants a physical, strong team. He wants the team to play brave attacking football. He wants them to get the ball forward and not pass the ball backwards. I mean, certainly going back to, and I hate talking about that a lot from across the city, but you looked at Postecoglou, when Celtic were playing backwards and going backwards and sideways, he was doing his nut on the sideline, almost having an aneurysm. And I think Phillipe Clement will be very similar to that indeed. There's a lot of interesting bits and pieces have come out of this press conference, a lot of reflection, a lot of thinking to do. And obviously we'll have some more reflection and thinking in tomorrow morning's video before the game, the live stream game. Come and join us for that. Well, guys, a fantastic press conference, a really interesting press conference from our new manager, Phillipe Clement. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I, for one, am very, very optimistic. Guys, on the way out, please smash the sub. And obviously 2 things I always need you to do for me. Number 1, smash the like. And number 2, remember, we are the people.